Hello and welcome to season 7 of the Writing Community Chat Show. Oh my goodness, season 7 of the Writing Community Chat Show is back, and the fact I'm saying season 7 is bonkers. Season 6 was like a marathon season anyway, and it just carried on going. Kind of forgot about seasons, but I wanted a week off. So I have been away for a week, and I've been at a wonderful festival in Wales, and actually the sun came out to the point where I had suntan, if you can believe it or not. Julie, our guest, is in the virtual green room right now with a bit of a panic on because, you know, the wonderful American weather, there was massive thunderstorms there by all accounts, and the power's just gone out, but she is here. She's surviving. So season 7, yeah. Also, what I'm going to say is in October, if you remember from last year, we had a bit of a crazy Halloween party. I plan to bring that back this Halloween, this October. So please give us some ideas, costumes, parties, fun games you want to play. And I will get a lot of you guys on from the community to have fun games with me on that Halloween party. We'll set a date for that. So please keep an eye out for that. And I hope you guys are doing well. Season 7 should be a great one. I've got some guests lined up. In fact, you recommended some on Twitter when I asked for about guests for season 7, some of which have replied. Not many, but a few have, and I hope a lot more will. But also I'm going to look into a few authors and perhaps a few people in industries of writing that may be a benefit to us to get their experiences. So keep an eye out for those, and please keep the recommendations come in. Give us a like, give us a share, comment, and all that good stuff. And the show will only grow, and our family will only grow with it. So welcome, and great to see you all in the chat. First of all, business as usual, the beer token, book promotion. There isn't one tonight, and that's down to my last minute preparation as always. So I will use Julie's book to advertise, and it'll be across the bottom of the screen as usual. And if you are sponsoring the show with your book, it will appear up here, and I will read the blurb in usual circumstances. But that's not going to happen tonight. So here is the cover popping up in the corner right now. And a note for Friday's show as well. Friday's show will not be live. It is a pre-recorded show that I did yesterday with a wonderful author named T.M. Logan, who in fact is a very charming, intelligent person who has sold over 1 million books. So please have a go at that show on Friday and let us know what you think. And I don't know, selling 1 million books is a hell of a milestone. So please look out for that show. And let's get on tonight's guest, hopefully, without too much of a power issue. So she is the author of speculative fiction, including paranormal and supernatural works, you know, horror as well. And she's also written a children's book, which is fantastic. And she's a fellow YouTuber who has a wonderful array of short stories and narrated stories, which, by the way, we do have an exclusive story tonight at the end of the show called Innocence by Julie. And that is being played for the first time here, which we'll be able to watch and listen to in its entirety at the end of the show. And she, yeah, the collection of tales on there are amazing, and also on her wonderful website, which we'll post a link to after the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, most of you already know who this wonderful person is within the community. Welcome, Julie Kusma. Hello.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, and I'm glad you are here in the capacity that you are. After,
did you hear that?
I can hear that.
Just for the Queen of Horror, thunderstorms.
Wow. That's amazing, honestly. The weather we get in the UK is so lame compared to everywhere else. And it's not always a bad thing, but, you know, you do it properly.
It is booming. I will probably cuss and scream because it'll scare me. So look forward
I love
to
it. The
that.
Queen of Horror on edge of the seat in fear of the thunderstorms. But fantastic. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, Lyth says on the chat, hello to you all. My rooster says hi, by the way, he's watching from the window. Okay.
Oh, my.
Mario says hello. Hello, Mario and Julie. And Jill says, love you, Julie. You are awesome. So wonderful support for you already in the chat. And hello to you guys, and hope you're doing well. So, Julie, most of you, as I said, do know who you are. But for someone who doesn't, I mean, you're a writer in many different ways. And as you mentioned, dabbled in children's books and do narration of stories on YouTube. So let's try and figure out where that started in the first place. And how did you get into writing?
Well, really, when I didn't go back to college until I was 50, and I was in health and wellness, and I became fascinated with the mind, body, spirit, and the connection that makes, and how the mind sometimes with cognitive distortions and fallacies of logic, it changes your perception, and that changes how you view the world and interact with people. So that was fascinating to me. And I decided to go on and get a master's in English, creative writing, because I thought the best way to kind of share that and help people was to kind of explain where that is all coming from and how you change your perception. And
amazing.
I started writing for Coffeehouse Writers, an online publisher, in 2019. And the first story that came to me was Stuck That Way. It's really about the woods behind my house and how my dog Finley, who everyone knows, I put pictures of him up all the time, was scared to go outside sometimes. He would freeze and not go out there because it's pitch black. And so the story came from that. And it was well received. I just kept writing horror.
Amazing. And was it horror something that you were into, something you like reading? I mean, why was it horror specifically, other than the spooky, I guess, reaction the dog gave you outside?
Yes.
What was the attraction to that?
I really have read some horror, but not a lot. I'm not a big fan of like slasher movies or things like that, but I've always liked mystery and horror and psychological horror. And I just thought it was a good way to talk about some of the subconscious things, some of the monsters within. And I write about those in my stories.
It's fascinating. So a decision to go to university and study, or college and study creative writing, that's kind of a big step. What was the instinct to do that? Or was there another reason other than just the interest in what you already had learned in other subjects and wanted to express that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a different journey for me because I always had a fascination with interior design. And I had a freak accident and broke my leg and was bedridden for 3 months and had to withdraw from school because I was in a drafting class and it was very difficult to have the portable drafting board on my lap and broken leg in a cast. And I withdrew from school. And when I was in my recovery from that in personal rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation, I thought there's got to be more to this. There have got to be alternative ways to heal. And so I went back to school and got a bachelor's in health and wellness and learned about acupuncture and all the other alternative kind of things out there. And that started my real fascination with the mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
And
Linda says, from interior design to horror. I mean, it's a great transition.
Have you seen some people's decorating? I'm just saying. It is great.
Horrific decorations could be a great book. I mean, acupuncture, though, that could be quite horrifying, could it?
It's interesting. I went and actually had it done several times so that I could write a paper about it. And yes, it's an interesting concept. And I think, I don't know, it's so subjective. There's no real way to know. But I enjoy all those things and energy work and going to the salt cave and, different homeopathy remedies for things I really enjoy.
Amazing. So, okay, then you started writing, and that idea you had that stuck in your mind, and you produced that. Did that have the reaction you expected at the time, and how did that develop for you after that?
Well, I really was surprised by the reaction. I got a lot of Coffeehouse Writers tracked the views per story, and I had a phenomenal response to it. So then I thought, oh goodness, now I need to write another horror story. I mean, what do I do? And they just kept coming to me, and they still do. They just pop in my head, the whole stories, and I always look at it, I guess, because of my love for drafting and architecture and things, like a schematic. And it's in there, and I pull it apart, and then I write down that outline so I can start telling it what's already in my head. And they just keep coming. Every now and then I get something that's not speculative fiction, but mostly it is.
So is it always fiction? Have you ever thought about, historical fiction in the horror sense?
I haven't, but that sounds very interesting. I mean, actually, the first thing I wrote that I haven't published yet was a nonfiction book. It's about the mind, body, spirit, and the connection, and how to break that all down and analyze that and revitalize those sectors and make your life better. And when I sent it to a publisher, he said, one of the first ones said, "I love this. Go get a platform, build a platform, and get back with me." So, hence, I'm on all the social media. I'm on Twitter, building a platform. And I haven't gone back to it yet because I enjoy writing the horror so much.
So for someone that may be watching that is kind of new into the author journey, that advice that you were given to go and build a platform, how important do you think that was, looking back at that now?
I think it is important for your to be out there and seen. You need to be visible. And you can have an amazing book, but if nobody knows you wrote it, if nobody knows who you are, then that's not going to sell it either. So I think it is important. Social media can take a lot of your time, and I think you just need to manage it and fit it in with all the other aspects of writing. You know, it's part of marketing, and it is valuable.
I mean, that is one of the biggest kicks in the teeth when you realize you self-published your book for the first time, and you think you've got you've passed the finishing line, and you've only just begun, because it is a battle and definitely a learning curve. So, an author platform you recommend then?
I am a fan of Instagram. I love it. I love the whole platform of it, and I do a lot of different things there. I do 6-word stories there, that at the end of the year, I put them all together and create a 6-word story cycle. Last year, my piece was called Awaken, and Jacqueline Bell actually narrated it for me, and Daniel Lacko of Guru Artificial produced it. And it's on my YouTube channel, but it was individual 6-word stories. And at the end of the year, my son and I were talking, and we were like, wait a minute, this is a bigger story. These all go together. So we created, maybe for the first time, a 6-word short story cycle. And I'm doing it again this year. So I put out 6-word stories, microfiction. And in October, I'll have them put together in the right order and narrate them and make a beautiful story. This year's is called Perfection.
Well, I tell you what, in our October Halloween party last year, we often did a story that we passed on from person to person through chapters, and read it out on the show. And if you're around for that party, I'd be delighted for you to come and read them for us.
Oh, that would be amazing. I would love
yes.
That'd be
Me and you take a chapter at a time. We'll go for it.
Yes.
So, I mean, those videos, by the way, on your YouTube channel, I spent quite a lot of time watching them earlier, and added you to the WCCS's website, YouTube's recommended channels, because it is fantastic.
Thank you.
The way that you produce them and the audio that comes across very well, and it's entirely a different way to express and portray a story that I think a lot of people could tap into or definitely enjoy. What was your kind of spark behind that in the first place, and why wasn't that short story in written text instead of visual and audio based?
Most of the short stories are on my website, JULIE-KUSMA.com, and most of them are there, and you can read them. And also then there's a link to go to the YouTube channel to listen to the story. Innocence is on my website. It was published earlier this year, and I recorded it mainly because when I recorded Thunder Mountain, I had such a huge response to people loving me using a Southern accent. I don't typically talk that way. Every now and then it comes out. But when I recorded, and people just loved it. So this story, Innocence, is recorded in that same way. It's the same character, actually, who is inspiring a novel that I'll start writing in January.
Wow. It's fascinating. And the characters, did they come from somewhere? Like, you practiced them before, or did you just thought, I'm going for it?
When I wrote Thunder Mountain, that's just the voice and the accent was there for that character. And Innocence, again, I tell you, the stories just drop in my head. I don't usually spend, unless I'm writing for a contest, and then I have parameters that I'm trying to, lights.
The power's back.
The power is back. And that means air conditioning. That's a wonderful thing. It's really wonderful. Well, now I've lost my track. I'm so excited that the air conditioning's coming on. It's just amazing.
I know. You were talking about how that the author, the vocals that came across in Southern accent, and they just kind of,
they just come across that way. I just hear the character when I'm writing. The power's back out. This is just a roller coaster ride for me today. A horror story read in Southern accent. Well, it is much better. I like reading that way.
Well, it's a good job you can do accents. Otherwise, it'd be, a hard work, because I actually tried to narrate my audiobook way back, and I thought, this is going okay. And as soon as I had to do an accent, it was gone. I couldn't do it.
Well, the Southern one's probably the only one I can do, so I don't know that I would try any others. But I do enjoy doing it. And, Innocence just came to me the way it is. And I realized, oh, this is the character from Thunder Mountain when she was younger. This is her origin story. And so the whole novel then just dumped in my head. And as soon as I wrap up some of these projects, I've got about 15 projects open right now. And I'm just living for January to start writing the new novel. So.
Definitely. Well, of course, you've written novels as up in the top corner there, Stuck That Way, and Other Quandaries. So how does that compare? How is your writing style from a novel to one of your short stories? Do they differ much?
They do. And sometimes the short stories, even the voice differs within, the collection. In fact, today, I just released a new paperback. It is available today. The Many Worlds of Mr. Escuandi and Other Stories from Oakwood Sanatorium. And this is a postmodern collage style short story cycle. And it was actually my thesis for my master's. And I love this story so much. There are 10 stories in the middle that have nothing to do with each other, except when I wrote the beginning and end bookcase stories. When you read them in order, it tells a bigger story, so it makes it a cycle. It features the amazing work of Tanwar Deer. It has sketches, Tanwir Dar. I'm so sorry, Tan. And it has his sketches in it from the patients. I have admission notes and doctor's notes at the end. And so the whole thing is it's a novella really due to the size. But it just came out today, and I'm really excited about that to share it tomorrow with everybody.
Amazing. That is fantastic. I mean, how did you structure that? Did you plot it out and plan that they were going to merge together, or did it kind of feel like a natural transition?
Kind of a natural transition. I'll tell you, when I picked the short stories for my thesis, most people were working on a novel. So I do the most difficult thing. Let me write 10 separate stories instead of one. And when I started submitting the pieces for peer review and everything, the professor said, this is called a short story cycle. And I didn't really know what that was at that time. And so she said, structure it that way. And I thought, I can tie these stories together by making them patients in the sanatorium. And it's a wonderful story. And again, in my usual style, there's a twist at the end. And you read the whole thing and go, oh, there you go. Wow. I didn't see that coming. So
that's fascinating. So talk to us about that structure then, because I've never heard of that either. And often people write like little short stories. How does that work compared to a normal novella?
Okay, so a collection of stories is just stories that may be themed together. They may have the same theme or the same, something like that. A short story cycle is when, if you read them in order, it really is like telling a novel. You could read them independently and they stand on their own. But if you read them in order, then you're getting a bigger story than just the individual pieces. And what I did was take the intro story and I bookended. I said to be continued. I stopped it where I could, where he's ready to go interview the other patients in the hospital. And my main character, Dr. Blanchard, is torn between science and spirituality. And he wants to believe this man, Mr. Escuandi, is able to, oh my God, I'm telling you this day, I now have 20% battery.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We're 20 minutes in. We've got a 10-minute video of yours. That's the worst case scenario is we've got 30 minutes of Julie Kusma.
That's right. And so, he's torn between wanting this man who is travel, hi, blue collar zombie, wanting this man to really be traveling to alternate realities. And so he's torn. He's a man of science, but he wants it to be true. So he makes some decisions to follow this path that make him question his own sanity in the end. And there's a twist at the end, and you understand why everything happened to him the way it did in the story.
That sounds like a fantastic way to tie up a lot of collection of a story. What we'll do very, very quickly, I'll say this right now to make it a lot easier in case you do disappear. If you do disappear, I'll play the video. But before that, if you guys want to do the question time right now and start sending in questions to Julie, we will read them just in case she does go, and you get to ask those questions to Julie, or to us collectively, or to one or two of us about Julie's work, about whatever you want. It could be a weird question, which likely there might be. Do that now, and what I'll do is I'll ask the staple questions, and so that way we can put you on the spot as well.
Oh, so, awesome.
Yes. So Julie, first of all, if you could take a character from any works, whether that be TV, film, or literature, and add them to either your collection of works or just do it whatever you want with their character, ultimately steal that character, what character would you choose?
Well, I love Sherlock Holmes, so I would imagine I would do something with him. You can't beat Dr. Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of those classic things, so Dorian Gray. It would be someone like that.
And any ideas what you do with that character?
Well, surely something wicked. No, right this minute I don't.
Maybe the dark side of Sherlock. That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yes, I'm sure he had a dark side, you know.
Maybe Watson came across all sort of like kind of a little bit pathetic, was really like behind the scenes a bit gruesome.
This is true. This is true. Maybe Watson didn't really exist. Maybe it's just an alternate personality.
Oh, now wouldn't that be good?
Yes. Kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, but...
That's great. Okay, so if you could take the ending and change it of anything, again, TV, film, or literature books, what ending would you change? It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad ending, but what would you change?
Oh, gosh. I would probably just go straight to the Hallmark Channel and kill off several people.
Okay. That's like a soap massacre. Fantastic. That's enough for me. I'm happy with that one. Okay. So if you were looking back at your career, down the line, what would success look like for you? What would you think, you know what, I've done this and I'm quite happy now?
I really enjoy writing. And for me, success is being able to do that, getting the books out there. I hope people enjoy them. I think some have. I hope that they speak to people and entertain. And if I do that, then I'm successful. That means success to me.
That's fantastic, and it is a great concept, and a lot of people do think that the similar way. Anya says, kill the Hallmark people, bring Halo Scott in from Major Carnage, and I agree.
I agree. I mean, so much for all of those. I'm sorry, people love romance. I'm a horror writer. I'd have to make it, it'd have to be bloody.
You not have the two together?
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things out there with, horror element and romance, right?
Yes. This is true. Look at the Frankensteins. I mean, the Bride of Frankenstein, there's romance. Kind of.
Okay. we have got a couple of questions. What's your battery situation?
Oh, I don't even know how to check. We'll just wait till it tells me it's gone.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
We'll roll with it. Okay, so just before we do the questions, guys, if you have got them, please send them in. We'll do a new family member of season 7. Of course, we want to introduce more people to this family, broaden it out even more, and get their wonderful stories in as well. So the question time video I will play, and then I will tell you what that person is. Not the question time, sorry, the new family member. And Julie, are you aware of what a GIF is, or a GIF?
Yes.
And what do you call it, GIF or GIF?
I say GIF. What is it really?
I honestly don't know. If I say one, it's normally wrong with someone else. So I'll play the video and then we'll get that going.
Okay.
If I can find it. There you go. So that new family member tonight is... or has disappeared. Fantastic there. And I'm not even joking. Brilliant. I will find them because I know exactly who that was. So what GIF or GIF are we sending this person and you can choose. It can be anything at all in the world.
Well, my favorite ones to send are Marilyn Monroe blowing a kiss.
That is it. That is a classic. So let me pop up on screen who that person is. Her name is. Hang on, 2, 5, 4. Her name is Brooke Joy, and her Twitter handle is @BrookeJoy99, and it's Brooke with an E after it. Probably normally is. And her bio says, "It's just me finally finding the time to follow my passions." She's a writer at Medium and lover of all stories, and she has 254 followers. So if we could collectively send and welcome that person to the family with the Marilyn Monroe ish gif, that would be fantastic.
Iffy, yes, I think that's great.
Yes. Okay.
That's
so while people are doing that, it is a great gift. But again, please try to say welcome to the family to the WCCS or tag us. Maybe it might be a bit weird if you don't. Okay. So questions from the community, Julie. Let's read the first one. And again, please send them in. They could be random as you want. By the way, Christopher Platt says, mind blown with that Sherlock twist. I really do like that.
Well, I just may have to do it.
Do it. That would be amazing. Okay, so Linda says, if you could be haunted by a famous spirit, who would that spirit be?
You know, I like Nikola Tesla. I think I would like to be haunted by Tesla.
Okay. I'm not entirely sure on who I'd like to be haunted by. Okay, question from Mario. Do you think a writer should stick to only one genre in order to build a brand, which is quite interesting because obviously you've dabbled in a few different ones, or write what you want?
I think branding does want you to stick within a genre, right? But as writers, we can write everything. And sometimes you're inspired to write all kinds of things, like the children's books. I wrote the one that's published while I was in college, and I have 3 or 4 more coming out this year. And I wrote them during, language classes. And I think they should be out there. So I'm publishing them. They're not really part of my brand. But on my website, I made a page called For the Little Darlings, and I put them there. And when I first released Piggledy Poo, I made a tweet that said how horrific the Queen wrote a children's book. So you try and tie them in and make it work for you and your brand.
The only issue I can see with that is the fact that children would have to come to your website full of horror things to find the children's book.
Well, I'm looking at it as the parents or the adults would. It's on. I wanted to separate it from the horror stories. And
but it's also a great shoe-in for the kid, the young people to get into horror, right?
Sure. Look at Goosebumps, hugely popular.
Definitely, and quite freaky, but kids love that too. So do you think in terms of publishing as well, getting an agent perhaps, having multiple genres could be a barrier, maybe?
I think so. I think they like, the agents and the publishers, they want you to stick in a genre. And another reason why I like to publish independently. They're out there. I kind of market them differently. I don't do a lot of marketing for Piggledy on my Queen of Horror. And it's also why some people have pen names and different, handles for different aspects of their career.
Did you think about a pen name for your children's stories?
I actually thought in the beginning about using a pen name for all the fiction because I wanted my name on the nonfiction health and wellness things because I would have the credentials after my name.
Yeah.
But then I decided just doing what I do. I'm just doing my thing.
Definitely. Why not? And, own your brand, I guess, isn't it? And the fact that you openly have children's books and horror books, I don't think is a bad thing. And I really think in the modern world, publishers could do with being a bit more open to that as well.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, Anya says, how should the Hallmark people die? Death by shark lasers, ?
I do like that. And I think that the way they should die is in a very slow and painful manner. Maybe bloodletting. That would be nice. Yeah, sure. I'm all for the death by shark lasers.
We had on the show Christopher Polaha, I think he was a big Hallmark person.
Well, you know.
He was all right. He sang songs and things. I think he was quite cool. But
I like the Hallmark Channel. I think it's wonderful. Romance is beautiful. Who
Beautiful.
doesn't love love?
Love. Okay. That was a great choice. Sharks with lasers on their head, which seems to be a positive. Tanya is writing Realm. Hello there. Says hi there with a hand. From Derek, Julie, what favorite book you love?
My probably favorite really is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I love that book. And Anne Rice's The Mummy is probably my absolute favorite. I think it's underrated. It's a standalone book. I read it several times. I'm reading it now for the 4th or 5th time. And it's just one of my favorites of hers.
Is there a horror writer that is maybe an indie writer, or maybe someone that's not quite as well known as, say, a mainstream horror writer that you really like and are into that you could recommend people to look into?
I like so many. There are so many great writers in the writing community. And I don't have enough time to read all of them the way I would like to, but I do. And Anne Rice is epic. And I do read as many as I can. So I just love everybody. I don't have anybody that I'd like to single out and call out as far as horror writers and things, but everyone's great, and it's a very supportive community. And I read as many as I can. Yeah.
And in reference to that question, Anya says, death by 11 million leeches, which is great.
Yes, I do like that for the bloodletting. Yeah. For 2 leeches. Definitely.
And Linda says death by 1,000 cuts is always a favorite mode of offering someone. Okay, and
a classic way, sure.
It is. And Carrie, hello to you. No question. Just wanted to say hi before Julie loses power.
I miss Carrie. Text Luann and say she doesn't have power.
How long does the power not stay off in situations like this?
We live out in the woods, and sometimes I lose power for 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
So the power had blinked on here and is off here again. And it is in the woods. You lose the trees if it's too wet or too dry. Sometimes we lose trees. They're old and ancient. And in the last month, really, I've had 2 trees fall on the street I live on.
No way.
It took down the power line 5 hours later. And it's just a challenge because everything's technology, right? I write on my computer. You use your phone. So when I lose power, I can't work. It's a forced vacation, and I don't like it.
No, it's not. I mean, are there other roads in and out there? If a tree falls on the road, is that you stuck?
Yeah, you can go out the other way, but yeah, it just stops traffic, and they've got to wait for the tree crew to come and cut it up. Then they got to get the line crew out. Yeah, it's a big ordeal. It's I don't know why all lines aren't buried underground. Makes sense to me, but they didn't ask me what I would do.
Yeah, I find it fascinating in the UK, honestly, like power cuts maybe around in the 90s, 80s, 90s, and now they don't seem to be often at all. And if they are, it's very brief. And thunderstorms come and go very quickly as well. So it's not like, it's not an issue for us.
We lose our power probably 6 to 10 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
You'll have to start writing longhand, and then you'll be okay.
Sometimes I do. I definitely outline longhand, and if I'm writing a poem or something, it's usually longhand. But there's other things to do.
Life said, got a similar problem with the trees, but not the power. Country life has its moments. Yeah, I'm sure they do. And Carrie says, you should have come here, in reference to the power cuts.
To my yoga girls, and I said, listen, I was trying to get the video to you, and it was just one fiasco after another. And then in yoga class, I said, I need to come to someone's home to do this so I don't lose it. And it didn't matter. We're still here. We're still here. And
we are still here, and we still got power currently, so that's good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your sort of collection's coming up tomorrow, and people can get that. And of course, you got the exclusive of your audio video that's at the end of this show here. But what are you working on at the moment that people can look forward to next?
I've got several things I'm working on. One of them is a children's book. It's Where Wildflowers Grow. And it was edited by my friend Jill Yoder. And Tanweer Dar has agreed to do the illustrations for it as well, and he's working on them currently. So that is really exciting for me.
Mhm.
I also have the second children's book. It's called Circuses in Town. And I wrote and illustrated this one. It's a graphic design kind of concept. So
Wow.
that'll come out later. And some of the things I'm most excited about are some of the things I'm collaborating and co-authoring on. My editor, Jill Yoder, has agreed to co-author A Perfect Place for Monsters to Hide. And so she has that manuscript right now, and she's working on her part. So hopefully that'll be out this fall for Halloween. This December, I have one story. It was called That's Creepy Santa. And I published it when I was writing for Coffee House Writers. And since then, I've written the second one, and I'm going to finish the third one. And so That's Creepy Santa, the trilogy, will come out in December. And I got a lot of funny comments about they've never read a horror Christmas story. So that's what this
Wow.
is. And
You're making me feel very lazy, by the way. That's a lot of stuff that you've got on.
I've got a lot of stuff going on. And I've got a third, well, I guess now that's a fourth children's story that the amazing Derek R. King has agreed to co-author with me. It's called Izzy and Ott. And we have just nearly finished, give us another week, working on a beautiful art and kintsugi book called Honey, Words That Heal and Mend. And we co-authored that and are designing it, and it's brilliant and beautiful. I'm biased, but I think it's beautiful. And a lot of those kintsugi pieces, I'm probably not saying that right, are on my IG. And that's how that started. And he wrote a poem called Kintsugi, and it is on my website right now. And it's beautiful. So if you go read that, I think everyone will love it. So
Wow,
I enjoy the
really
collaboration. And
Yeah.
I have to give a plug for Jane Jago, who is the illustrator of Piggledy Piggledy Poo. She's brilliant as well.
That's fantastic. That is so amazing to hear you getting into so many different things there, and including the illustration, which is amazing. And is that something you've always been into? Have you often been good at art, or you just done this now?
I mean, I'm good in like a graphic design sense. I'm not really good at sketching or watercolor, that kind of art, fine art like Tanweer is and Jane. But graphic design things I can do on the computer. So this one is, the illustrations are all silhouettes, and I've created them on the computer and out of shapes. And it's a fun book. And I wrote it because the circus is no longer around here. So I just thought everyone should know, the kids should know what a circus was, what the terms were. I have great memories from going to the circus when I was a child.
When you say they're not around here anymore, they stopped. Generally?
They're retired. They're retired, and the Cirque Barnum Bailey and some of the bigger circuses are around. So you can't go to a circus anymore.
Wow.
Sad. It's sad, really.
That is sad. Chris Platt says, "Write Longhand by candlelight, very gothic." It is, I guess.
It is. That is true, and I have done that, and this is quite fitting for the Queen of Horror.
It is. Anya says, underground power lines rock. We have them in my development. So we get the power quickly back after hurricanes. Other people in the city lose it for a week. Wow.
It only makes sense. I don't know why they're not all underground.
I have no idea. And Joanne Paulson's in the house. Hello to you. At least it's working right now. I made it. Hello, everybody. Hello to you. Okay, so we're 40 minutes in, and you're still
I've got
here.
10 minutes left. 10%.
10%?
10%.
We're good. Okay, guys, if you have more questions, we can manage a couple more at 10%. So, I mean, the question to ask, it really is that, you've got in all these short stories, you've got novellas on the go, you've got, children's books coming out as well, and these audio things. Is there going to be a change of genre down the line?
Well, never say never. I think that the novel that I'm going to start writing in January is a little bit different. I guess not. It's still psychological horror. I don't know. I'm sure I will write the nonfiction. I have a lot of friends that know me that really would like me to write some more spiritual type things. And they know me for those things and keep asking me, why are you writing all the dark stuff? And so it's just kind of funny because they don't understand.
It's just within me.
I know. Letting my shadow out,
And
I just enjoy it. I just really enjoy it. So I'm sure I I write poetry sometimes, and I certainly never thought that was something I would do or was capable of doing. But I do have several pieces on YouTube narrated.
I mean, if you love doing it, then why change it? I guess, isn't it? I mean, if you're doing it and it's easy to do and you're enjoying it, then I think that's just stay as you are.
I agree. I just like to create. I mean, I do several other things that are artistic, and I just enjoy creating and just want to do that every day.
Fantastic. That's a great thing to do. Okay. Derek says, Julie, what's a hobby you have other than writing? Just a great question.
Well, yeah, it is. I'm a stained glass artist, and I have shared pieces on Twitter before. I used to work for a builder and did interior transoms for him when I lived in Virginia. And at one point I lived in Seattle, and I had pieces in a gallery there. So I love stained glass, and
Wow.
I have several pieces in my home. And every now and then I'll make a piece and put it on my Etsy shop. And so that's really a true passion. I love it.
It is that stained glass again could be considered a little gothic if you see things differently that way. How do you do that? There could be a genuine standard way of doing this, but I have no idea.
Well, I do it the old school way, because I learned in the 80s how to do it. And now there's, water bandsaws and all this other kind of stuff you can use. But you score the glass with a glass cutter, a handheld glass cutter. Yeah, I did have pieces in a gallery. It was pretty exciting. And you score the glass, and then you have breaking like pliers, and you tamp it, with a tool, and then you break it. And you have a hand file to get the shards and the nicks off the edges. And so there's a couple different ways you can do it. Now, I will confess that I do have a grinder, because that's a lot of hand filing. So that's probably the most modern piece of technology I use when I do stained glass, is a grinder. But either you're doing leaded projects, which are my favorite, and you actually have pieces of lead, came, it's called, and you stretch it and you cut it and you fit it around. It's like an H channel. And you fit the glass in the section of the lead. And then they're all soldered together, which is an art to make a beautiful solder joint. They're polished and patinaed and hanging in the sunlight for beautiful art.
Wow. I'm very impressed by that, Julie. It's fantastic. Let's try and squeeze a few more in then. How do you create, this is a great question, how do you create the perfect horror atmosphere? As a horror writer myself, I'd love that, and some of the horror writers in the audience as well, I'm sure would love to know the key to a perfect horror atmosphere.
I think the key is trying to find the right words to set the mood. I mean, what is the tone that you want to have? And using sentence structure is also key. When you're getting to the moment, you need to use shorter sentence structure as kind of a staccato building up to that moment of the climax of the story. And I think words are just truly the key. There's so many out there. Had a fun conversation with Forgotten Astronaut 2, Ash, about words and weird words. And there's just some beautiful words that have been lost. And I like to find the perfect words to set that stage for your sensory perception about what's happening there.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic answer. Thank you for that. And thank you for the question, Linda. Mario says, might you ever consider moving to the UK? Question mark.
Well, again, never say never. Yes, I think it's wonderful. I have some ancestry from there and some friends there. And yes, I would love to go to the UK.
I think the right move for you would be to go to Glasgow. In definitely the horror sense.
I think that sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Create some of that, darkness in the streets, the cobbled streets and the wet streets. Okay, Anya says, if you had to have dinner with, I can't even pronounce that.
Well, it would be Cerberus. So I would go with the ancient. Yes, I would go with ancient Egyptian. Definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll have one more then. Fire 1666. Question for Julie. Do you prefer slow burn horror, lots of build up, or fast burn horror, a short, quick build up?
I think it depends on the story and what you're writing. If I'm doing flash fiction or a short story, you don't have a lot of time for the slow. And I think it depends on the concept of the story. Some things are better when they're elongated and drag out a little bit. it helps build it because you're not sure. But sometimes you just need to hit hard and just be right there. So I think it depends on the subject matter and what effect you're trying to create.
No, I agree. I think if you look at, say, the film, a classic film, Alien, the suspense in that was unbelievable, and you hardly saw the alien in the film at all.
Right.
When done in that scenario is absolutely wonderful. But then you get some horrors that are straight up in your face constantly the way through. And again, it comes down to preference, like you mentioned. So it was a great answer. Okay, so what we'll do with 15 minutes left, so at least you get to try and see some of the reaction for this. What we're going to do, very quickly, you can announce where people can find your websites and everything else like that. And then we will play the 9-minute video that you provided us, the exclusive Play of Innocence. Where can people find all your websites, all your books and stuff like that?
Well, the best place to go is my website, and it's JULIE-KUSMA.com. And from there, you can find everything. My YouTube links are there, Twitter's there, Facebook. All of my merchandise from Teespring and my Etsy shop are available there. And everything is under my name. Everything's Julie Kusma. So if you go onto Instagram and you search Julie Kusma, you'll find me. Please follow me there. I'll follow you back. I also have on the website the Dear Jay letters. That's a co-author with Jill Yoder, where we write a letter back and forth to tell a story. And yeah, and they're all, the characters are, since both of our names start with a J, the characters are always, their names start with a J. So that's fun for us. We're good friends and we really enjoy that. And I have a Facebook personal page and author page. And so if you search me, you'll find it. I believe the author page is Julie Kusma 111. And other than that, just go to the website. You'll follow it. Even if you search my name on the YouTube, you'll find my channel. And there are a lot of things there. And right now I have that little mini movie, The Devil's Scribe, my origin story about why I write horror. And that was a lot of fun to create.
I watched that earlier, and that is fantastic as well.
That girl, she is so good.
I know.
She's fantastic.
That video, in fact, was the reason why I added you to the recommended channels to the WCCS YouTube. So there you go. Check it out, guys. We will leave links to all of that in the description. But what we're going to do now, before Julie's internet battery completely dies, we'll play her video that she's given us exclusively, so you guys can see it live here and the reaction can come in so we can let Julie know. Thank you, Julie, for joining us. I will play this, and guys, follow her and tune into the show Friday. But
thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, let's put that big screen. Hello, guys. I apologize. Someone said, has it supposed to have sound? Yes, it is. Give me 1 second and I will sort that out. That's typical me. Right, 1 second. I'm glad you commented on that, because otherwise you would have been sat there for quite a while, not listening to anything at all. Let's have a look at this. Let me know, guys, if this comes through. Okay. Still no sound. 1 second, guys. Apologies. I will fix this immediately. Let's try on this. Okay. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I might be able to do it in a different way, but let's have a look at this first. Okay. Okay, we're still broken. I will get this done. Julie, I apologize. And she's still there. So, Julie, bear with me. This can happen.
Yeah, it's just the kind of day we're having, isn't it?
It is. I mean, well, it is. But let's see if this works.
The rubber sling grew taut in my fingers, and the itch to shoot something swelled as I aimed. This time, I couldn't scratch the spot. I didn't have a rock. I used up my supply last night after supper on account of finding so many things in the world taking up space. Somebody needed to give 'em a way out, and I happily obliged. Like my mama always said, I'm helpful like that. I would scout for more ammunition later, but now my legs ached. They did that sometimes when moisture hung heavy in the hot air. I needed to rest for a spell on my grandma's front stoop. My daddy had sent me here every summer since my mama died. I didn't mind much. I liked being alone, no one watching what I do. Plus, I learn all kinds of things on my own, like the sound a bone makes when it cracks. Each one has a different tone. The coolness of the step raised goosebumps across my thighs. I remembered a warning about ants, so I bent down and inspected the cement where I sat. At first, I didn't see anything but the crevices time and footsteps had carved, so I leaned down some more. Minuscule creatures scurried about, all aimless and such. I couldn't decide what seemed worse, going on with my legs aching, or having some bitty ants dancing about my britches. I chose the ache of something I already had, over the itch for something new. But I feared some of those pests found their way in. I sprang up from that resting spot and jumped about, smacking my own ass to smash the invading few. As I jigged and juddered in some primal dance, I spotted a boy out in the distance, crossing the open field. He carried something, maybe a branch from a hickory tree. They grow near straight. I scrutinized closer and reckoned it too perfect to be anything but man-made rod. My grandpa, God rest his soul, told me about the different kinds of aquatic life and all the sweet spots over yonder where the catching was easy. The entire surface of the water formed in my mind's eye. On the far side of that field lay a pond all shiny and cool. The boy got to be on his way to fish. That was if he carried a rod and reel. If it's just a stick, he just plain bad at fishing. Either way, I figured watching the whole damn thing play out would bring me sheer joy. I headed his direction, and I planned on sinking my legs deep in the water when I got there, and the thought sent shivers through me. Who knows? Might work as jaw for a bit of conversation. That was, if I got the urge. I snorted a little laugh at the absurdity. I might actually teach that boy how to fish. Tickle grass as high as my knees brushed against me, and I cut through the field and headed towards my destination. The heat was almost unbearable now. My hair stuck to the side of my cheeks as sweat trickled down like drops of melted sun itself. I hated the sticking part. Clumps of hair curled like snakes, glued to my face and the back of my neck, no question, I was definitely going in and cooling off. As I reached the far edge of the field where the woods grew free, I no longer could see him, but I heard that boy. Pretty sure he ain't no hunter, because he whistled and tussled his feet the whole dang way. Noisiest boy ever, like he never been out in nature or snuck up on prey before. I figured when I got to the spot marked in my mind, I'd hide up in a tree, for fun, make some animal calls and scare the heck out of him. By the time I got down to the pond, my mind circled back to my slingshot and the glorious sound made upon contact. That dang boy was so loud, my thoughts turned again on account of him giving the other boys a bad name. You ain't noisy when you fishin'. But when I got to that last real row of trees near the bank and saw him standing there, I froze. Maybe the heat got to my brain. Maybe it was the cool breeze off the water, or the sound of the leaves as they rustled. Heck, maybe I was plumb crazy, 'cause I caught myself right then wishing I had a hairbrush instead of a slingshot in my back pocket. I lifted the edge of my t-shirt and wiped the sweat from my face and pushed the stuck hair back. For the first time in my life, I wondered if I looked okay, if I looked like a girl. I probably don't look pretty. I've been barked at before. Then I pondered if I smelled clean, or if my skin smelt sticky the way it did to me. I always wore old hand-me-down breeches, cut off because my brothers were all taller than me. I even had on a boy's t-shirt. At least my hair was long, so I guess he know I'm a girl. This stupid daydream caused me to lose sight of my surroundings, and when I leaned a little too hard on my hiding branch, it gave way and snapped. I stumbled out of the trees and fell with a smack on my belly in the muddy bank. For a moment, I considered burying my nose in the wet, sloppy mud. One deep inhale, and my mortification would end. But that something extra in me, the part my daddy always said he was afraid would leave one day, stood and rallied me. The boy just grinned. He wasn't startled, didn't come to help me up neither. I realized he'd known I was behind him the whole damn trip. Normally, I would have been as mad as a cat trapped in a bin, but for some reason, I didn't mind this time. I smiled back and got up and brushed off my breeches. I ain't following you, I said, not sounding too convincing. Just coming down to the water to slip off my shoes. I cuffed my shorts up before sitting down. I need to cool off for a bit. He said it sounded good to him, and he joined me on the wooden pier. Watch out, I warned. The planks are rotten. Some nails pushing out, too, all rusty. He nodded and watched his step more carefully. I liked that. He was willing to learn. That was good, because I ain't like nobody else he would ever meet. Not ever. We sat there, the two of us, side by side on that summer day, arms touched and sometimes kind of held together from the heat. Our feet played in the water, toes wiggled on the surface of the mud, and the glorious sun caressed our faces. I never felt more alive or more like a girl my entire life. I giggled when our eyes met, and I found myself hoping to see him every summer. Every single one of them, and one day, when I was older, fully grown out, I would share that milestone with him too. I wondered if a girl my age could be in love. I didn't even know him. Heck, I didn't know his name, but he made something stir inside me. He leaned in until our shoulders pressed and our faces became close enough that his breath remained warm as it drifted over my lips. He never closed his eyes or blinked as he approached. My mouth parted, and a soft sigh emerged. I longed for his mouth to press against mine. All movement paused, suspended in time, as he stared deeply searching for my soul. I liked it, and I stared back, losing myself in the dark recesses of him, until I saw something I could never want. His eyes held a hunger within them, not for a kiss or even a feel. No, he harbored the salivation of a crow staring at carrion, all ready to peck flesh. He wanted something from me, something he didn't have the right to take. "What's the matter with you?" he said. "You a girl, ain't you? I thought you wanted this. You sure act like you did up until the moment I'm ready to give it to you. You scared?" I pushed him back. My hand pressed against his chest. He grabbed my arms. I turned my head down in disgust. I never felt so weak, so helpless as I did right then. But it made me realize what he wanted. He wanted my naiveness, my comfort, my sense of security. I wouldn't let him ruin me. I needed a way out. Unexpectedly, he provided it. I don't know if it was how he jumped up or the smirk on his face when he did, but I'd be damned if I'd let him take anything from me. "I ain't scared," I screamed. He released me and walked away. The farther he went, the greater my urge to chase him, to jump on his back, wrap my thighs around his waist and squeeze real hard. So I did. After I caught my balance, I lifted my hands from his shoulders and secured him on his jaw. With a snap, I knew the sound a boy's bones make, intent on taking my innocence away.
Woohoo! Now that was a interesting story, wasn't it? About 2 seconds ago, Julie's battery must have died because she just disappeared right at the end. And what can I say? What did you guys think of that story? And there it is, folks, says Jill. Yeah, definitely. I didn't see it go in that direction. But nice little twist indeed. Please leave your feedback for that and tweet Julie and follow her. And do check out her YouTube channel and her website that has had a lot of time put into it. And there's plenty more like that. Blue Collar Zombie says, yes, Julie's phone died, but she said, thank you all. I'm sure she would appreciate that. Chelsea said, it was fantastic. Linda says, awesome story. And you know what? That was a 10-minute video. And I noticed that the chat went very quiet. The viewings didn't drop and people glued to that. So that's a testimony to how good that video was. Great fun tonight, Chris, says Mario. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is a pleasure that you do so. And season 7, it should be a great one. Like I said, some of the authors you guys tagged in the tweet, I have in fact got contact with. Not a lot of them, but a few have replied. And I'm hoping to get a lot more in. So if there are people that you know that you want on the show, please email me at the Writing Community Chat Show at gmail.com or drop me a message on Twitter. I will look into getting them on the show and think outside the box too, because if you want, well, Julie did a creative masters or whatever that might be, a lecturer, come on, talk to us about that would be amazing. So anything like that you think you could really benefit the authors that watch the show or people who want to get into writing, just let us know. Other than that, please enjoy Friday's show. I am going out in a capacity, so I cannot be on the show Friday. There is a pre-recorded show that I did yesterday with TM Logan, who has released a few books and sold over 1 million copies. And he is a fantastic person who actually looks like Phil Schofield. He has got a great look about him, so please do check that out. Light says, oh God, a good thing there is water there. And just slip the body right in and leave. Clearly, we have a lot of people on this show that know how to dispose of bodies. I'm not sure if that's a great thing or a worrying thing indeed. But either way, thank you. Guys, please look after yourselves. COVID's still flying around. Ignore that stuff. Get out the way of it. Enjoy your lives. Get back into your writing. And please stick with the show. Great things are coming. And if you're interested in the Halloween show, being on that show, giving us some ideas, please message me, get involved, and we will get you on there. And like Julie said, she agreed to it. You all heard her. If we do a writing prompt thing that we did like last year, we'll write a bit of a horror story chapter. We'll see if we can get Julie on the show for the Halloween special to read it in a Southern accent just for us. Let's see if we can make that happen. And you guys can help So please enjoy yourselves. Look at the show on Friday, and I'll see you next week on Wednesday, we have Louise Beach on the show. And you may recognize her from the Harrogate video, who is fantastic. And I'll exclusive this right now, and I will promote this tomorrow, is giving away her entire paperback collection. I think there's 5 or 6 books there. They're all amazingly rated. The publisher is giving us those books to give away, and we will be giving that away on the show. So there will be a tweet going out tomorrow. Check out that tweet, get involved with it, and share it around, and you could be winning all of those paperbacks. So stick with it, guys, and enjoy your evening. We'll see you next on Friday. Thank you, guys. Goodbye from me.
Yeah.